secrets.
What?
Secrets.
What kind of secret?
Secrets. We all have developed from our childhood unspoken rules. Rules that every family knows, and yet nobody talks about them. And those rules affect us in ways that we don't even realize. Because the fact that the Bible says the sins of the father are threefold. And what that actually means is that what happens in one generation gets passed down 3 other generations. And that we take on rules for ourselves that are unspoken. Rules like, Uncle Johnny, he's just a little different. So nobody looks at Johnny because of the fact that everybody knows he's just a little different. We take on roles that say that different members of our family carry different roles. So there is a firstborn, there is a secondborn, a thirdborn, and each one of them energetically take on different roles. And what happens in our families is that I come into this world, I look around, and this one's got the leader position. This one's got the poor me position. So I've got to decide how I'm going to fit into this realm of family. Nobody speaks about it, nobody talks about it, we just do it. Have you ever stopped to think of what roles are controlling your life based on unspoken rules from your own family? When I was a child, a very young child, something very unfortunate happened to me. And I was told that if I told, nobody would ever like me. So one of the things I've come to understand is that I've always carried with me this piece that says somehow somebody's going to get to know you and they're not going to like you. There are all kinds of different roles that we take on that we don't even realize that we do. And because of that role, we place ourselves in places where people will act out our own belief system about ourselves. And yet the bottom line is, the Bible says, dust you came, dust you will return, which means the physicality that you're carrying comes from this earth, is fed from this earth, is cared for from this earth, but it's not going to go where you're going after this. And any of those rules that you've adopted, unexpected rules that you've adopted, are going to go with you too. You know, I always love when I hear people say, oh, they're all over there and they're happy and they're doing a really good job and they're all learning. No, they're not. I always like this saying. I know what I wanted to say, just looking. Denial is not a river in Egypt, neither it is in the afterlife. If you don't want to face something, they will not force you to do it. So that if you can justify what you are or who you are because somebody else did something to you, then ultimately you can't grow, you can't move, you can't, because you will not be able to see it. How many have suddenly liked a new color and all of a sudden that color starts showing up places? Or got in a new car, a vehicle, and all of a sudden you're starting to see that vehicle everywhere you're at? It's a very common thing. But it also speaks to this because of the fact that we accept rules in our lives that don't work, that rules that I've seen people use is if somebody hurts me, I have permission to hurt somebody else. How many, families like that? People like that. We have a choice, a present. It's called the present because you get to change your mind and decide who you are. But I invite you to decide who you are, not based on the clothing you're wearing, not based on the face that you're wearing. Because believe it or not, it is a direct reflection about how we feel about ourselves. The truths, the unspoken truths about ourselves. I went through a deep depression when my husband was dying and almost lost myself in the process. And one day I was looking in the mirror and I said, April, you can't do this. You can't do this to yourself. And I knew that I could not climb in that grave with him as much as it hurt to let him go. And yet, I had to make some personal responsibilities. Personal responsibility says, this is my soul, and when I leave this earth, it's still going to be my soul. What do I want to reflect from that? What do I want people to see me as? Because when you don't have a body, you're pure energy. You're just energy. You get a designer body. A lot of people like that. You get to be taller, shorter, wider, thinner. Whatever suits your soul. But you're still going to carry the same energy that you carry right now. And part of personal responsibility is to take the time and say, what are the rules that don't suit my soul? What are the things that I've taken on and adopted as truth that aren't? I work every day at being the best me I know how to be. Every day. And I once had somebody say to me, you walk in a room and before you even get there and you're intimidating me. So I work really hard to try to rein my energy in. I work really hard to not be that person that intimidated somebody else. Until I realized the more I tried not to be that, the worse she got. The meaner she got with me. Until I realized it wasn't my drama. That I am just busy being who I am. And our job is to be the best we know how to be at this moment in time. And I say that because of the fact that you think back what you thought of reality at 10. What reality was for you at 2. What reality is for you now. And how many thoughts have changed? How many things have been different? How did you learn something more to see things in a different perspective? So we'll always say this. I have 2 prayers that I pray every day. The first, I ask to align my heart with the heart of God, that I can see this world the way God sees it. I had the advantage one time, I was teaching the class, and one of my angels said to me, you want to see how we see you? And she stepped right inside and showed me what all my students look like. And you look like twinklers on the 4th of July, those little sparklers. Every one of you would look like a sparkler on 4th of July. From their perspective, you're absolutely beautiful. You're amazing. And some people spark lighter, bigger, wider than other people. But what would make the difference in that? Self-love, self-worth, self-esteem. They're not something you can earn from anybody else. It's not something anybody can give you. You can only give what you're made out of. Angry people can only give anger because that's all they have. And we can feel pretty bad about people like that. Though I will say that a lot of people think that being good means always being nice. And I've been taught that you can be too nice for your own good. There's a passage in the Bible that says, don't throw your pearls among swine. Meaning that if it's not valued, if you do not feel valued with people who are supposed to care for you, your own family. I have a friend who's now going through a rough time because her only son is in the hospital and her daughter and his wife will not let her go up to see him. And it's all about control. But what she doesn't see is that when she gets in a mode where she needs to have the answers, she has to have control. And so she can't see that her own unspoken role is, if I'm going to do it right, I have to be in control. It's a bitter lesson to learn. What are the unspoken rules in our life that we live with every single day? Every single day. That don't suit our souls. Because I promise you, when you leave this earth, they will not ask you who you had for a mother. They will not ask you who you had for a father. Because you chose those people. You chose those people in order for you to learn something more about what you want to be and what you don't want to be. And sometimes we choose people. When I accepted that I chose this life, I figured I must have been on something at the time. I really must have been. But what I found is that I agreed to put myself through the crucible. To put myself through the crucible of somebody else's reality and not let it claim me. Not let it own me. That I can take personal responsibility for who I am. Because I didn't do those things to other people. And that brings us to the word forgiveness. And most people think forgiveness is making it okay or coming to terms within yourself. I truly believe that forgiveness means you're unplugging yourself from somebody else's pain and refusing to carry it anymore. Because we weaponize ourselves with that pain and discredit our own self in the process. Self-love, self-worth, self-esteem. Those are your gifts you give yourself. Those are the things you need to honor within yourself. And you need to look at what are the unspoken rules in your life that are preventing you from being able to do that. We are divine children. It's not a metaphor. It's not something that somebody says, oh, ain't that nice? It's true. I do believe that God created this world as simplistic as an atom. In order for an atom to find balance, it needs an equal amount of negative as it has to positive. But when you really understand the science behind that, that's only perspective. Think about when you were 10 years old and how you felt about your life and what your perspective was there. And think of yourself now. What is your perspective of you now? Have you grown? Have you learned? Have you experienced? Because you can't do this when you get to the spirit world. In the spirit world, you're going to find the people who resonate with your energy. You're going to find people, so that's the good news and the bad news. But here you have to deal with people. You know, I love the word love because love brings strength to us. Self-love, self-worth, self-esteem. But I can promise you that the word love in spirit is so much more refined than the word is here. I have had pleasure of being in the presence of angels that sent me complete unconditional love, and it brought me to tears. Because all the things in all my heart inside of me didn't matter when I was in that energy. I believe one of the hardest lessons to learn here is unconditional love. Doesn't mean you have to like everybody. Doesn't mean that you even have to put up with other people. I've had people that were in my family that if they were a stranger walking down the street, I wouldn't want to have anything to do with them. So I chose not to. You are not your biological family. You are part of a soul family. And you have the right to create your own family, to create the balance in your own family. But you have to look at what are the unspoken rules that guide your life, that short circuit you from accepting that you're God's child, a direct descendant, here to learn in a dense world that's hard, and they know it's hard. And they're going to love you through everything. Because even if you're doing something that you don't like that you're doing, they're still going to love you. There's no punishment. But they will put the right people in your life to help you to see, to help you to learn, to help you to grow, and to be the grace of the soul you are meant to be. The grace of the soul you are. But I can say those words, but you have to breathe those words into your heart and know it to be true. As the God in me honors the grace of the God in me. Thank you.